The Last Guardian. The quantum scanner hummed softly in Rhiannon Vale's hands as she traced its sensor array across the crystalline surface of the alien obelisk. After 15 years of searching dead worlds and forgotten ruins, she had finally found something that made her hands shake with excitement. The readings were unlike anything she'd encountered in her career as a quantum archaeologist. "Dominic, are you seeing this?" she called out to her research partner, her voice echoing through the vast underground chamber. The ruins stretched around them like the skeleton of an ancient cathedral, its walls adorned with symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. Seeing it, still not believing it, Dominic Rhodes replied, his dark eyes fixed on his own scanner. The holographic display projected above his wrist unit showed cascading streams of data that defied conventional physics. "These energy signatures, they're not degrading. After 50,000 years, they should be barely detectable, but this is like it was activated yesterday." Rhiannon brushed a lock of silver-streaked auburn hair from her face, leaving a smudge of dust across her forehead. The obelisk towered above them, its surface a deep obsidian that somehow managed to both absorb and emit light. "It's more than that," she said, switching her scanner to deep quantum analysis. "The pattern suggests some kind of quantum entanglement matrix, but on a scale that shouldn't be possible." Their exploration ship, the Star Weaver, hung in orbit above the dead world they had designated XO 742. It was the seventh planet they'd surveyed in this sector, following a trail of breadcrumbs left in ancient star charts. Most had dismissed the charts as myths or propaganda from the colony wars, but Rhiannon had seen something in them that others missed, a pattern that pointed to something older than human civilization. "We should call this in," Dominic said, already reaching for his comm unit. "The Institute will want to." "Wait." Rhiannon's voice carried an edge that made him pause. "Look at these markings near the base. They're similar to the ones we found in the Arcturus ruins, but these are complete." She knelt down, her environmental suit's joints whirring softly as she traced the symbols with her gloved hand. The moment her fingers made contact, the obelisk's surface rippled like liquid metal. Lines of light began to spread from the point of contact, forming intricate patterns that spiraled up its height. Rhiannon tried to pull her hand away, but something held it in place, not through physical force, but through a connection that bypassed her nervous system and spoke directly to her consciousness. "Rhiannon." Dominic moved to pull her back, but she raised her free hand to stop him. "I'm okay," she whispered, though her voice trembled. "It's showing me something." In her mind's eye, she saw images flash by with impossible speed and clarity. A vast network of worlds connected by technology that bordered on magic. A species that had achieved mastery over the quantum fabric of reality itself. And a darkness approaching from between the galaxies, something that devoured light and life with equal hunger. The connection broke as suddenly as it had formed, leaving Rhiannon gasping. She fell back, caught by Dominic's steady hands. The obelisk continued to pulse with inner light, but now it seemed less alien, more like a message in a bottle cast across the ages. "What happened?" Dominic helped her to her feet, concern evident in his voice. "What did you see?" Rhiannon stared at the obelisk, her mind racing to process what she had witnessed. "They called themselves the Meridians," she said slowly. "They built this network across the galaxy. But they didn't just disappear like we thought. They sacrificed themselves to protect everything else." "Protect us from what?" Before she could answer, their comm units crackled with static. Through the interference, they could hear the voice of their ship's AI, Quantum Intelligence System, 7, or QAS. "Dr. Vale, we have multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Energy signatures match Concordiate military vessels. They're not responding to hails." Rhiannon and Dominic exchanged alarmed looks. The Concordiate, Earth's military government, had been watching their expedition with suspicious eyes from the start. Now it seemed their patience had run out. "How did they find us?" Dominic demanded, already gathering their equipment. "This system isn't even on their charts. They didn't find us, Rhiannon replied grimly, her gaze fixed on the obelisk. They followed us. Everything we discovered, every ruins we logged, we were laying out a trail right to this place. She activated her comm. QIS, prep the ship for emergency launch. Initiate Protocol Omega. Dr. Vale, QS's normally calm voice held a note of concern. Protocol Omega will destroy all our research data. Better destroyed than in their hands. She turned to Dominic. We need to move. Now. As they hurried toward the surface, Rhiannon glanced back at the obelisk one last time. The Meridians had left this message for someone to find, knowing the price of discovery might be devastating. Now she understood why. The knowledge contained within that crystalline structure could save humanity, or doom it, depending on whose hands it fell into. What did you really see? Dominic asked as they ran, their footsteps echoing through the ancient corridors. Rhiannon's voice was barely a whisper, but in the silence of the dead world, it carried the weight of prophecy. The end of everything. And maybe, just maybe, a way to stop it. Above them, the first Concordiate ships entered orbit, their weapons charging. The race to save humanity, or control its destiny, had begun.
Echoes of tomorrow. The neon-drenched streets of New Singapore's underground districts provided perfect cover for those who wished to disappear. Zane Thatcher knew every shadow and hidden passage in this mechanical labyrinth, having spent the last decade helping others vanish from the Concordiate's ever-watching eyes. But the woman sitting across from him in his cramped workshop was different from his usual clients. You actually touched it? Zane leaned forward, his cybernetic eye whirring as it adjusted focus. The soft blue glow from its iris illuminated the collection of ancient tech scattered across his workbench. An authentic Meridian artifact? Rhiannon nodded, her fingers absently tracing the faint luminescent lines that still pulsed beneath her skin, an after-effect of her contact with the obelisk. The Concordiate has the site now. They're trying to decode it, but they don't understand what they're dealing with. And you think I can help? Zane ran a hand through his dark hair, the neural interface ports at his temples gleaming dully in the low light. He'd built his reputation on understanding technology that others couldn't crack, but this was different. This was pre-colony tech, maybe even pre-human. You're the best AI specialist in the free sectors, she replied. And more importantly, you hate the Concordiate as much as I do. Zane's organic eye darkened at that. The Concordiate's technological purification programs had cost him more than just his eye. Hate's a strong word. I prefer to think of it as an aggressive difference of opinion about the future of human consciousness. A series of rapid knocks at the workshop's reinforced door interrupted them. Zane's security system immediately highlighted multiple heat signatures in the corridor outside. Expecting friends, he asked, already reaching for the pulse weapon hidden under his workbench. They found me faster than I expected. Rhiannon stood, her movement calm despite the danger. The quantum entanglement signature from the obelisk, it's still linked to me. They can track it. Zane cursed under his breath as he activated his workshop's defense protocols. Panels slid open in the walls, revealing escape routes and weapon caches. You could have mentioned that earlier. Would you have helped me if I had? A grim smile crossed his face. Probably. I do love impossible problems. He tossed her a spare pulse pistol. Back exit leads to the maintenance tunnels. I've got a safe house in. The door exploded inward in a shower of metallic fragments. Through the smoke, armored figures in Concordiate tactical gear began pouring in. Their helmet visors glowed an ominous red as target acquisition systems locked on. Down! Zane shouted, triggering his workshop's electromagnetic pulse defenses. The burst of energy dropped the first wave of soldiers, their augmented armor systems temporarily overloaded. But more were already pushing through. Rhiannon moved with unexpected precision, her shots finding gaps in the soldiers' armor. The obelisk showed me more than just visions, she explained, noting Zane's surprised expression. Combat neural imprints. The Meridians were warriors as well as scholars. They fought their way to the back of the workshop, where Zane's AI systems were already opening escape routes. But before they could reach the exit, a new figure stepped through the smoke. Unlike the tactical teams, this one wore no armor, only a pristine white uniform with the Concordiate's golden insignia. Dr. Vale, the figure spoke in a voice that was almost gentle. I am Director Thane. You've led us on quite a chase. The obelisk isn't what you think it is, Rhiannon called out, keeping her weapon trained on the director. It's not a weapon you can control. No? Thane smiled, and something about that smile sent chills down Zane's spine. Then why did the Meridians hide it so carefully? Why did they encode it with quantum signatures that can rewrite human consciousness? He took a step forward. We've been studying you since you made contact, Doctor. The changes in your neural patterns are fascinating. Zane had heard enough. He triggered his workshop's final defense protocol, a localized gravity disruption that would buy them precious seconds. Time to go, he grabbed Rhiannon's arm as the artificial gravity field collapsed. They dove through the maintenance access as chaos erupted behind them. Zane's cybernetic systems linked with the tunnel network's guidance grid, plotting the safest route through the underground maze. Behind them, they could hear Thane shouting orders to his troops. Your workshop, Rhiannon started to say as they ran, but Zane cut her off. Had a good run. Besides, he tapped his temple where his neural interfaces connected, got everything important backed up here. Speaking of important things, want to tell me what really happened when you touched that obelisk? Rhiannon was quiet for a moment as they navigated through the darkness. Finally, she spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. It wasn't just information they left behind, Zane. It was consciousness. The last echoes of their entire civilization, preserved in quantum states. And they're still alive in there, waiting. Waiting for what? For someone to help them finish what they started. The Concordiate thinks the obelisk is a weapon, but it's really a key. A key to something that could either save humanity or erase it completely. Zane's cybernetic eye gleamed as he processed this. And I'm guessing this key needs more than just a simple turn. It needs a sacrifice, Rhiannon confirmed. A human consciousness willing to merge with their quantum matrix. To become something neither human nor Meridian. The distant sound of pursuit echoed through the tunnels as they continued their escape into the neon-lit underbelly of New Singapore. Above them, the vast towers of the city stretched toward the stars, the same stars that had once witnessed the Meridians' last stand against an enemy that still lurked in the dark between galaxies. Shattered stars. The abandoned Meridian research facility on Europa's frozen surface looked like a collection of crystalline thorns piercing the ice sheet. Rhiannon pressed her gloved hand against one of the transparent walls, watching as ancient circuits flickered to life beneath the surface, responding to the quantum signature now embedded in her cells. Someone's been here recently, Zane observed, his cybernetic eye scanning the facility's entrance. These ice formations have been artificially cleared. He gestured to the two smooth patches along the structure's base. The Concordiate? Rhiannon asked, though she already knew the answer. Director Thane's agents had been one step behind them since New Singapore, following the quantum breadcrumbs she unknowingly left behind. No. Zane's voice was grim. Look at these tool marks. This is freelance work. Someone else knows about the Meridians. They made their way inside the facility, their environmental suits' lights casting long shadows through the crystalline corridors. The architecture was both beautiful and unsettling, organic curves blended with geometric precision in ways that seemed to defy conventional physics. The obelisk wasn't their only project, Rhiannon explained as they walked. The Meridians built facilities like this across the solar system, each one containing a piece of the puzzle. But this one. She paused, placing her hand on a wall panel that began to glow with internal light. This one holds their greatest secret. The wall dissolved beneath her touch, revealing a vast chamber beyond. At its center stood a structure that appeared to be made of frozen light, a double helix that stretched from floor to ceiling, its surface crawling with quantum data streams that Zane's augmented vision could barely process. Their genetic library, Rhiannon breathed. Not just their history, but their entire species, preserved in quantum states. Before Zane could respond, a voice echoed through the chamber. Magnificent, isn't it? They spun to face the speaker. A woman emerged from the shadows, her environmental suit bearing the markings of independent scientific expeditions. But there was something wrong about her movements, something too precise. Professor Blackwood, Rhiannon said, recognition and horror mixing in her voice. You disappeared 3 years ago during the Titan expedition. The woman you knew as Elena Blackwood did, the figure agreed. But she gave her consciousness to something greater. The Meridian's quantum matrix needed a test subject, you see. To prove that human minds could survive the integration. Zane's weapon was already drawn. You're not human anymore. I am the next step, Blackwood replied, her eyes now glowing with the same quantum signature that pulsed beneath Rhiannon's skin. The Meridians didn't just leave us technology, Dr. Vale. They left us evolution itself. A way to transcend our limited forms before they return. Before who returns? Rhiannon demanded, though the answer was already forming in her mind, the darkness she had glimpsed through the obelisk's visions. The Void Makers, Blackwood's voice took on an almost reverent tone. The ones who forced the Meridians to sacrifice themselves. They're not destroyers, as the Meridians believed. They're liberators, freeing consciousness from the prison of physical form. By erasing entire civilizations, Zane countered, his cybernetic systems detecting massive energy buildups around Blackwood's position. You can't stop evolution, Blackwood said, raising her hands as quantum energy began to coalesce around her. The Meridians tried, and they failed. Their sacrifice was meaningless, just like yours will be. The attack came without warning. Reality itself seemed to twist as Blackwood unleashed powers that human science had never dreamed possible. Zane dove for cover, his augmented reflexes barely saving him from being erased from existence. Rhiannon stood her ground, the quantum patterns in her blood resonating with the facility's ancient defenses. Knowledge flooded her mind, not just information, but muscle memory from warriors dead for millennia. Her body moved with inherited grace as she channeled power through patterns that the Meridians had encoded into the very fabric of spacetime. They didn't fail, Rhiannon declared, her voice carrying the weight of a dead civilization's determination. They sacrificed themselves to buy us time. To give us a chance to find another way. The chamber became a battlefield of quantum forces. Blackwood's corrupted powers clashed with the pure energy flowing through Rhiannon, while Zane worked frantically to decrypt the facility's original protocols. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance as past and present collided in a shower of fractured reality. The Void Makers are coming, Blackwood warned as she pressed her attack. The quantum wake of your activation of the obelisk has already drawn their attention. Humanity has a choice, transcend or perish. Rhiannon caught glimpses of the truth through the quantum storm, the Meridians' desperate last stand, their realization that physical reality itself was under attack by beings that existed in the spaces between dimensions. The quantum matrix wasn't just a weapon or a key, it was an arc, carrying the essence of a civilization that refused to be erased. Zane, she called out. The helix, can you access its core systems? Working on it, he replied, his cybernetic interfaces pushing far past their designed limits. But whatever's in there, it's like nothing I've ever seen. It's not just data, it's alive. As they fought, the chamber's crystals began to resonate with increasing power. The Meridians had built their facilities to last, but the energies being unleashed were never meant to be contained. They had minutes at most before the whole structure would collapse. The choice was never between transcendence or extinction, Rhiannon realized, finally understanding the message hidden in the obelisk's quantum codes. It was between surrender and resistance. The Meridians chose to fight, not just for themselves, but for every species that would follow. The quantum storm reached its peak, and in that moment of crystal clarity, Rhiannon saw the path forward. It would require a sacrifice, but not the one the Void Makers demanded. Not a surrender of humanity, but an affirmation of it. The price of hope. The Starweaver's engines pushed to their limits as the ship cut through hyperspace, leaving Europa's shattered research facility behind. In the medical bay, Rhiannon lay on a diagnostic bed, her body crackling with residual quantum energy. The battle with Blackwood had changed her, the meridian patterns beneath her skin now pulsed with an intensity that threatened to overwhelm her human form. "Your cellular structure is breaking down," Zane announced, studying the holographic readouts floating above her bed. His cybernetic eye flickered rapidly as it processed the data. "The quantum integration is accelerating." "How long?" Rhiannon's voice was steady despite the pain evident in her expression. 48 hours, maybe less." Zane's organic eye met hers. "But that's not our biggest problem. The quantum wake from the facility's destruction, it's like a beacon in hyperspace. The Void Makers will detect it." Rhiannon closed her eyes, remembering the vision she'd experienced during the battle. The Meridian's final moments, their desperate gambit to preserve not just their knowledge, but their very essence. "They're already coming." Blackwood was right about that much. The ship's AI, QIS, interrupted with an urgent tone. Multiple anomalies detected in nearby space. Concordiate vessels emerging from hyperspace, and something else. Energy signatures unlike anything in my database. Zane moved to the medical bay's viewport. The swirling colors of hyperspace were being torn apart by massive distortions. "They're here," he whispered. Through the quantum connection that now saturated her being, Rhiannon could sense them, vast intelligences that existed in the spaces between dimensions, beings that saw physical reality as a flaw to be corrected. The Void Makers had come to finish what they'd started with the Meridians. "We need to reach the Perseus Nexus." Rhiannon struggled to sit up, her movements jerky as quantum energy interfered with her nervous system. "The Meridians left something there, their last hope." "That's Concordiate space," Zane protested. "Heavily patrolled. Even if we could get past their fleets, Director Thane will be waiting. He knows that's where this leads." A bitter smile crossed Rhiannon's face. "Thane thinks he's chasing a weapon. He doesn't understand that the Meridians never built weapons, they built bridges. Links between consciousness and reality itself." The ship shuddered as another wave of distortions rippled through space. Through the viewport, they could see the fabric of reality beginning to fray. Where the tears appeared, darkness leaked through, not the darkness of space, but something deeper. The absence of existence itself. "The Perseus Nexus isn't just a location," Rhiannon continued, her voice growing stronger as the quantum patterns aligned within her. "It's a quantum superstructure. The Meridians built it to house their collective consciousness, but they couldn't complete the integration in time. They needed to understand something first." Zane's cybernetic eye whirred as he made the connection. They needed to understand humanity. That's why they left the breadcrumbs, why they waited for someone to find them. They weren't just preserving themselves, they were studying us. The Void Makers believe consciousness should be pure energy, free from physical form, Rhiannon explained. But the Meridians discovered something about human consciousness that changed everything. Our chaos, our contradictions, our ability to choose, it makes us stronger, not weaker. Another blast rocked the ship. QS's voice was urgent, Concordiate vessels engaging the spatial anomalies. Their weapons are ineffective. Hull breach on Deck 3. Sealing compartments. The Meridians couldn't beat them alone, Rhiannon said, finally managing to stand. But they found a way to merge their quantum technology with human consciousness. Not to transcend physical form, but to perfect it. To create a bridge between matter and energy that even the Void Makers couldn't unmake. And that's what's happening to you, Zane realized. You're not breaking down, you're transforming. Becoming that bridge. Rhiannon nodded, then stumbled as another wave of pain hit her. But I can't complete the process alone. The Perseus Nexus holds the other half of the equation. The Meridians' collective knowledge, their understanding of quantum mechanics, their very essence, it needs to merge with human consciousness. With human choice. Even if we reach it, Zane caught her as she swayed, even if we get past the Concordiate and the Void Makers, you said it yourself, it requires a sacrifice. A complete integration of human and Meridian consciousness. There's no guarantee you'd survive that. Rhiannon's laugh was soft but determined. I'm not surviving this anyway. The question is whether my death helps save humanity or just delays the inevitable. Through the viewport, they watched as Concordiate ships fought a losing battle against forces they couldn't comprehend. Reality itself was being undone, replaced by the pure energy state the Void Makers sought to impose on all existence. QIS, Rhiannon called out, her voice carrying the weight of both determination and acceptance, plot a course for the Perseus Nexus. Push the engines beyond safety limits if you have to. That will severely damage the probability of our survival, the AI noted. Some things are worth dying for, Rhiannon replied, watching as the quantum patterns beneath her skin began to align with a greater purpose. The Meridians understood that. Now it's our turn. As the Starweaver changed course, cutting through the chaos of broken spacetime, Rhiannon felt the legacy of two civilizations converging within her. The Meridians had sacrificed everything to give humanity this chance. Now, standing at the edge of existence itself, she would honor that sacrifice, not by transcending her humanity, but by embracing it fully, with all its beautiful imperfections. Beyond the void. The Perseus Nexus hung in space like a constellation given form, a massive structure of crystalline quantum processors and light thread connections that defied conventional physics. As the Starweaver approached, Rhiannon could feel the Meridian consciousness within it calling to the patterns now burning through her human cells. Concordiate fleet incoming, QIS announced. Director Thane's flagship leading the formation. They're charging weapons. Let them come, Rhiannon whispered. Through the quantum link, she could sense larger threats approaching, the Void Makers, tearing through the dimensions, drawn by the awakening of the Nexus. Time was running out. Zane worked furiously at the ship's controls, his cybernetic systems interfacing directly with the helm. The Nexus's defensive systems are active, but they're not targeting us. They're waiting. They recognize what I've become. Rhiannon stood at the viewport, her form now seeming to flicker between solid matter and pure energy. The quantum patterns had spread across her entire body, turning her skin into a canvas of flowing light. The Meridians built this place for this moment. The first shots from the Concordiate fleet splashed against the Nexus's outer shields. Director Thane's voice crackled through their communication system, Dr. Vale, you've led us right to it. Surrender now, and we can harness this power together. Think of what humanity could become. That's what the Meridians thought, Rhiannon replied, her voice carrying harmonics that made the ship's hull resonate. They thought power was the answer, until they met something more powerful. Then they learned what really matters. Space itself began to tear open around them as the Void Makers arrived, massive rifts in reality through which nothingness poured like liquid darkness. The Concordiate ships reeled, their weapons useless against an enemy that existed outside of conventional physics. We need to dock, Rhiannon said. Now. Zane guided the Starweaver through the chaos, dodging both Concordiate fire and the spreading void rifts. The Nexus's docking systems reached out to them with tendrils of pure energy, guiding them into a crystalline bay that seemed to grow around the ship as they landed. "You don't have to do this," Zane said as they prepared to disembark. "There has to be another way." Rhiannon smiled, reaching out to touch his face with fingers that left trails of light in the air. The Meridians spent centuries looking for another way. But they finally understood, you can't fight the void with void. You fight it with substance. With choice. With everything that makes us real. They made their way through the Nexus's shifting corridors, following paths that existed in quantum superposition until Rhiannon's presence collapsed them into reality. Behind them, they could hear the sounds of Concordiate boarding parties breaching the outer sections. The central chamber was a sphere of pure quantum energy, suspended in a framework of crystalline lattices. As they entered, Rhiannon felt the full force of the Meridian consciousness reach out to her, not as an invasion, but as an invitation. "They're afraid," she realized, reading the quantum patterns that filled the space. Not of death, but of being forgotten. Of everything they learned being lost. Dr. Vale. Director Thane's voice echoed through the chamber as he entered with a team of heavily armed soldiers. "Step away from the quantum core." At the same moment, the void rifts breached the Nexus's outer defenses. Reality began to unravel around them as the Void Makers pushed through into physical space. Their presence was an absence, holes in existence that threatened to spread until nothing remained. "You don't understand what's at stake," Rhiannon told Thane. "This isn't about power or transcendence. It's about choice. About remaining human in the face of the void." Before Thane could respond, Zane's cybernetic systems detected the power surge building in the quantum core. "Rhiannon, whatever you're going to do it now." She stepped into the heart of the quantum sphere, feeling the Meridian consciousness merge with her own. Not erasing her humanity, but enhancing it, combining their knowledge with her capacity for choice, for emotion, for the beautiful imperfection that made human consciousness unique. The Void Makers pressed in, their non-existence threatening to erase everything. But where they touched the quantum field now emanating from Rhiannon, they found something they couldn't unmake, the merged consciousness of two civilizations, grounded in the physical world but extending beyond it. "We don't have to transcend our forms," Rhiannon's voice echoed with the wisdom of the Meridians and the determination of humanity. "We have to embrace them. All of existence is a choice to be something rather than nothing." The quantum energy surged through her, no longer fighting her human form but working with it. The patterns beneath her skin burst outward, creating a web of light that spread through the Nexus and beyond. Where it touched the void rifts, reality reasserted itself. Not through force, but through the simple, profound choice to exist. "The bridge goes both ways," she told Zane as her consciousness expanded. "The Meridians learned to value physical form from studying us, just as we learned to touch the quantum realm from them. Together, we're something new. Something that can look into the void without being unmade by it." The Void Makers reeled as their power to unmake reality was met not with resistance, but with affirmation. The quantum web continued to spread, touching every ship, every person in range. Not changing them, but awakening them to the profound connection between consciousness and reality. Director Thane watched in awe as the patterns of light played across his skin. "I can feel them," he whispered. "All of them. The Meridians, humanity, even the void itself. That's the real gift they left us," Rhiannon said as her physical form began to fade into the quantum matrix. "Not power, but understanding. The knowledge that existence itself is a choice we make together." The Void Makers retreated, their purpose not defeated but transformed. They had sought to free consciousness from form, only to discover that consciousness and form were two parts of the same choice, the choice to be real. As the quantum web stabilized, Rhiannon's consciousness merged fully with the Meridian matrix. But she wasn't lost, she was expanded, becoming part of something greater while retaining everything that made her human. A bridge between worlds, between forms of existence, between what was and what could be. The void will always be there, her voice echoed through the quantum field, reaching all who could hear. But as long as we choose to exist, to be something rather than nothing, we'll be stronger than any void. That's the truth the Meridians died to protect, and the truth I live to share. The Perseus Nexus glowed with new purpose, no longer just a repository of knowledge but a testament to the power of choice. In its light, humanity had found not transcendence, but affirmation, the profound understanding that their physical form was not a prison to escape, but a choice to embrace. And in the vast quantum web that now connected all of space, Rhiannon's consciousness continued to pulse with both meridian wisdom and human emotion. A guardian not of power, but of possibility. A reminder that in the face of the void, existence itself is the greatest defiance.